Hello. myself over here. I didn't realize how much background noise that causes. Let's get this shut off. Okay. Nothing else is printing or doing anything right now, so we should be good. Alright. I get my phone set up so I can pay attention to chat. Alright, there we go. I think we're good. Okay, I should be able to see chat there. So what I'm going to be doing, and I have the overhead camera coming down. I might have to change the color on that camera a little bit. It looks a little washed out on my screen. Maybe it's just my screen. Looks okay on YouTube. Let's see if I can get both of this set up over here. There we go. Put this to half the screen and this to the other half. There we go. Alright. This way I can at least see if somebody chats in YouTube. Alright, are we good? We're good? I think we're good. Okay. So what I'm going to be doing here, and this is kind of cool because most of the molds that I make take about 24, 40, 24, 72 hours. Something crazy like that. To actually, it's a really wide pan. Anyways, I'll worry about that later. 24 to 48 hours to 72 hours to harden. And that is when I'm casting clear resin. When I'm casting the rubber for making the molds, this is about 6 hours, but this has to be done in the pressure pot. So you can't see anything that's going on. So what I'm going to be doing today is casting this mold, and I'm actually going to, I need to find one of my little baskets. Typically I don't really clean some of this stuff out of the mold, which I'm sure you can see here, some of the clay that's stuck in the middle here. I did move a lot of stuff around in my office the other day because I'm reorganizing, trying to get things a little better here. And what I found out is that with the small amount of resin that I use, the first pour I kind of use as a test pour. And the reason I'm going to say that is because it's going to reveal any feature issues that we have with the mold. It's going to pick up any little dirt that's in stuff in here. And now I learned that because I was molding these, and I did wash a couple before I poured my first few molds, and just it doesn't really get everything out of there, and you have a chance to damage the mold, which is not what you want to do before you even used it once. So this way I can use the mold. The resin that I cast the first set is typically just kind of a gauge for me as to what they're going to look like, but the resin picks up any particulates or anything like that that are inside the actual mold itself. So that'll kind of show us what's going on with that. And So we're just going to get right to it. And now what's really cool about this stuff that I'm going to use today is we're going to measure out, and this is just by weight or volume, so we don't need to have an exact like weighted scale to measure this, which is nice. And I am going to look on this cup a little more because some of the reviews said that it cured very fast. It says 2.5 minutes. A few people that reviewed it said that it was literally curing as they were pouring. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to check and see that we have enough time to work with it, so that we don't lose the first one before we even cast anything. And I want to get my plastic basket here. Get my tools out of here, and I'm actually going to cast down into this basket. This mold should fit in here. This way, if I have any residual runoff, what's nice about this is I can run some tape around the edge of this basket, and that way if I have any residual runoff or runs into the basket, it doesn't make a mess everywhere. I know there's probably a better way to do this, but this little basket was $2, and the mold doesn't really stick to it all that well. So I've been able to just tape the outside and just reuse this basket in this way, and I haven't really had any messes or spills or anything like that, so I'm not going to be making any molds. We're actually going to be making a cast, because like I said, this is going to set in about 15 minutes. So we're just going to do some prep here. Get our little basket taped up. The other thing is, this funny thing that I realized when I was weighing a couple of the other lenses that I've been making is that, okay, everybody can hear me good? If I actually physically weigh the lens, that gives me an idea of the volume that I'll need to pour to remake the lens. So instead of trying to calculate volume, it gives me close enough, and that's all I'm looking for. I'm not worried about, I can pour a little bit, and pour a little bit, and pour a little bit to get it close. And I'm not really worried about wasting at this point. Find my lenses that I'm casting here. And this one's about 2 ounces. So I probably need a little bit more than that. So I'm going to mix up 3 ounces per lens. So a total of 6 ounces to pour these lenses. And let's see how this is going to do. Eye protection. We'll put on gloves. And it does say to wear eye protection, so I probably will just put glasses on. I haven't had any of this stuff really splash and cause an issue, but I am going to be mixing it up too, so I want to make sure that it's not too bad. Yeah, this does say work time 2.5 minutes, and I know this stuff can differ by temperature. And I'm about 72 to 74 degrees in my office. So hopefully that won't be an issue. And I'm going to try to get out of the camera and go over here. See if that's any better. Oh no, but then I'm out of this camera too. That's why I was over there. Okay. I can push this camera back a little. Oh, all right. There we go. Okay. So, mixing stick, pair of gloves. What I found really funny too is, you know, always watch for deals on this stuff. I do have to get some better mixing sticks. We won't be mixing a lot of resin, so these are fine, but when I fill one of these cups with the mix up to the top, these sticks are a little bit more difficult. These gloves, what's funny is I ordered this resin, and I could have got the resin by itself, and to order the resin with a box of 100 gloves was only $1 more. So I was like, yeah, I'll take 100 gloves for almost free. So that's pretty cool. Let's get this. Okay. And when you mix these, the two parts, it doesn't really matter part A and part B, which you pour first for mixing. So we're just gonna go ahead, and like I said, I don't need to put these in a pressure pot or anything, but this is literally just gonna cure as I pour these. Let's get these opened up first. I'm gonna do my razor blade. Let's see. Oh, this will work. Oh. Almost lost it. And I always just cut that completely off because it's just annoying. Otherwise, sometimes it gets in the way as you're pouring and goofs up your pour. So I just get it completely out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and mix 3 ounces. Those other lenses are 2.5. Excuse me. These are 2.5. I could see it being about the same. So if I pour 3 ounces each, we should be good. Alright. Not going to question it no more. Let's just go ahead and mix. And now remember, this doesn't start activating until the two start going together. So you don't have to start working quickly. And now, yes, I know I have this big cup for this little bit amount of mix, but the smaller cups I have are for 3 ounces, and I have a silicone one, but that's just a waste. It always seems to get some residual left over 3 ounces. I'm going to get this up to there, and you always want to make sure you stir all this stuff really good. Scrape the edges of your cup. This is very fluid, so typically I would set like a timer for 3 minutes, but being how quick people were saying that this set up, I'm going to actually move quicker with it and not do that, so that we don't have any kind of issue as far as that goes. And of course I'm right overhead as I knew I was going to be in the way like that, but it's a difficult setup. Again, I'm just trying to rearrange everything. We're going to scrape our edge again, and then I try to scrape the bottom with the stirring stick. Oh, I can feel the heat. Okay, so that's a good sign for me that I'm going to stop. And I'm going to go ahead and pour half of this into one and half into the other. I'm just going to go back and forth until I have it. Actually, if I fill this cavity Okay. This created a lot of heat. A lot of heat. So now we're going to put our mold together. Should have looked at which way that went first. Yep, should have looked at which way this went first. Okay, this way. Now this is just a pressure set mold, so you don't have to get these weighted heavily or anything like that. You just have to get it with all of my pieces set. You can see it's already starting to cure. Typically I have a little weight, little 7 to 10 pound weight that I take. I put on the top to hold the mold together nicely. With this one I'll probably use 2 in the future, but like I said, there's a reason that I always do the first mold. Now with how much I poured out, I probably only need 5 ounces for this. That's fine. The nice thing about these, comes right off the rubber, the mold will pop right out when I'm finished with it, and we'll have no problems. So we don't have an issue as far as that goes. Close these up for now. I do have a ventilation system in my office. It is not running right now, but you know, for my 3D printers and laser machines and everything, I have a ventilation system that vents my lasers out, and I have one that comes into the room, so if I do stuff like this I can remove fumes. Now with that being said, we're going to set this to the side. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
We're going to get our robot worker to start working, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to open the pressure pot, and you're going to hear some pressure release. This might get loud. Now would be a good time to turn your volume down a little bit. Okay, you can turn your volume back up now. Once that evacuates, we'll go ahead and open the pressure pot and we'll bring our other mold out, and it's going to be time to pour the rubber in the other side of our rubber mold. And typically I take the gloves off after I work with one of these substances, but I'm going to be going ready to do another one, so we'll just leave the gloves on for now. And yes, I kind of have this in the corner just because it's really easy to access. It's really easy to take the lid off, and I don't need to get to this other than getting in to do that. So now we have this mold taken off. You're going to see this weird line here because I re-poured a second section here. I don't know if you can see that line or not. If you can, the reason is I poured a second half because I did have a bubble in the bottom of the mold that I noticed. So I made a little slit, I filled in the bubble. So now we have to take this apart and we'll check it out and see how the mold works. And we'll be watching this container to see when our buddy over here, which I could have made a little extra. I tend to do that. Make a little extra so I can see as it's curing out here. And then this is the rubber that I poured earlier that, don't worry about my table. This stuff just peels right off. This table is not a permanent setup, but again, I'm working with conditions here, so I wonder if I can bring this. Okay, bear with me for a minute, guys. I'm gonna move this camera. So that I am not under it the whole time. Under it, over it. I'm not sure what word that is, but we'll just say under it. I don't even know how I'm looking now. Oh, I'm losing my clip. Sorry, I thought I had this set up good. I'm just trying to get my head out of the picture for the whole shot. There. Okay. Now I'll be over here, so I'm at least not... Yeah, I have to really try to get into this to get my head in the way. Okay, that's much better. Good. So how I make these is, I use a couple different methods. Some of them I use plastic. This one I actually used hot glue to seal all the seams of my box because you don't want your rubber to leak. And you know, as I'm looking at this box, the other one that I poured like this, I had more space, but I think that's because I have the... Yeah, I know why that is. I should have enough space once I take this apart to... Because what you do is you take this mold and you flip it over. This is how you make a two-part mold. And I will have to walk out of the room with this mold for a moment, and so I can coat it. And then we're going to pour the rubber back over the top of the mold. And let me move my phone up here. And by doing that, we will have our two-part mold that'll come apart that will then be able to do like I just did with the other mold. And pour our lens or our mold, our model, whatever we're making. Where's my screwdriver? I have a new office chair I've been fighting. I like this chair because it has my logo in it. Other than that, I've had it for probably 5 years because Thermaltake, not sure if they still go by TTE Sports for their chairs and mice pad and mice and keyboards and stuff. They embroidered my logo in the back of it up here, which you can't even see when this is here. They embroidered my logo here for me when they sent me this chair to review, and so I've been using it. I enjoy the chair, but I hate I like the lumbar cushion, but I hate it because there's nothing to hold it on the chair, and I don't know why through the years I haven't developed something to put onto the lumbar cushion, but I just haven't. And every time I get up, it falls off. So it's a little annoying, but just a little. But I do have a new chair, and it's one of the reasons I'm trying to get my office reset up here so I can get my new chair set up. And now what you want to do here is See, the mold's coming free from the wood, no problem. The problem is the hot glue is holding the wood together really, really well. So, this is not what I anticipated to happen. Make sure I'm not missing a screw. I could get a hammer and tap the parts apart too, but I didn't think I would need to do that, or I would have already had one in here. Let me see if I get my knife and cut my screw here. Yes. Let me get my knife and cut my screw. No. Let me get my knife and cut the hot glue. These are large molds. These are not for the faint of heart for a few reasons. For one, they're not cheap. So if you have any kind of error in the mold, it's a costly mistake. And for two, it's a little more difficult when you're working with something so large to get it so that, you have a good seal, so that you don't wind up having a bad mold. It's part of our battle. Oh my goodness. That is really holding on. And what annoys me is it's not the rubber. It's the wood. Or I mean the hot glue that's holding the wood in place. Come on. I mean, there's a good possibility I did go a little heavy on the hot glue. Just to make sure I had a good seal between the two. But still, it's pretty crazy. And you can use all kinds of things to make these molds. Paper, like foam board, all kinds of different things. But when I started with, you can see how the glue is just holding to the wood there. I started with a couple different things, and then I found that the wood works really well for one because it holds the shape of the mold really nicely, and it's reusable. So I got to use this for both sides. Typically, when I pour the part that I'm making, that I use the mold to make, I don't reuse the wood because it's a pressure mold, something like that. But it doesn't need the compact. It just needs a little weight to keep the two molds together. If there's not enough weight in the rubber and the silicone mold material, so that you don't get any floating of your mold. Okay. Just going to try to loosen the side of this box too. The problem is, like I said, it's not that the silicone is stuck to the wood. That comes off with ease. It's that the wood is stuck to the wood. So they stuck together really well. In this side here, this corner, I can't get in between the wood to get to the the hot glue that's underneath. And I don't want to damage the mold or the model that's inside the mold, or separate the model from the mold. Because until I pour the second half, it's important that the model stays intact with the first half of the mold. these are the things that you fight in making molds. You know, with everything. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Now, as you can see in our mold here, we have our clay at the bottom, which is currently securing our model to our wood platform here, so that these are my computer screwdrivers too, so they're not meant for prying. Yeah, I got this now. But that's it's securing our model to our platform so that we don't get any silicone under the clay in between the model and the platform that seeps up underneath the second part of our model. And to be completely honest, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you want a clean edge around your model. If you're making something that has a hollow center, like you saw me pour the other one, and some rubber gets in there, it's not the end of the world, because you're going to pour rubber in there. You're going to pour silicone in there, and the silicone will stick to itself, as you can see by the top layer that I poured, and create a uniform piece. That's also why we need to coat. When I separate this, we need to coat the first half of the silicone so that the second half of the silicone does not stick to it. Or if it does stick to it, it's very minimal and we can get it apart with ease. So now we should be able to get our mold out of our mold box. We're going to want to get this whole bottom piece with it, because then we can peel it easier that way. And we will keep the integrity. Alexa, stop the timer. Why is it sticking so much? Okay, we just have a little bit of a seal of the silicone to the wood, that's all. So the first, like I said, the first mold, I have made one this size. This is my second one. I did use plastic in between the silicone and the wood. And that's all that this has done. The urethane and stuff will stick to wood. The silicone doesn't stick to wood, but it's just... It fills in the lines of the wood so great that it creates like a suction of the two pieces together. So all you have to do is just break that, which we did there. And then it comes out, and then we can take our mold box that we're going to reuse. We're going to keep the other two sides sealed. We're going to set this down, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set this right back into the box once we've peeled away everything underneath here. And now this is the moment of truth. This is when we'll see how good our clay work was, because we'll see if we got any seepage. Unscripted, unedited. Which is true, we're live. We'll see if we got any seepage down into the mold around our part. Maybe a little bit. I am okay with a little bit. Yep. Just a little bit right there, not a big deal. And this clay, you can actually reuse it. Which is nice about the clay, because the silicone, as you can see, it does not stick to it. The silicone doesn't really stick to anything, which is what makes it great for making these molds. And so you can peel the clay off And like I made some registration marks, and I made a registration galley on this side, so that we know which way these get put together. This other side over here I'm a little more worried about, because I do have an opening, which is a drain hole for this lens. The factory designed a drain hole so that if you got water inside your lens, it'll drain out. And I mean, they're plastic. You don't want them, you know, they're sealed to their backing piece with a gasket of sorts. But you can also just use like a silicone rubber, like an RTV sealant, to seal them together. And so if you got water in there and it didn't have a pathway out, it could just fill up your lens with water, and then you're going to short out your light bulbs. So they have a hole, which you can see my filler, and you can see it a little bit here. You can see my filler clay down in there, which is blocking that hole so that the rubber silicone of the mold did not pour down into there. And then over here, I created this little channel, which will allow us to have a what is called a registration mark for 500. 500 what? I don't know. And yeah, that's why these gloves are cheap. But all of these rubber gloves do that. So I'm not commenting on the ones I got for only $1 with my resin purchase. All the gloves do that. Which is typically why I use a pair and take them off. But this clay is a little sticky too. So I actually wanted to get all this done and peeled while my gloves were still on. And then I'll put on another set of gloves, except now I'm using my thumb and getting clay all over my thumb. That's how it works, right? All right, so and this rubber is very flexible. So when you make these registration marks, you can literally just flex the rubber and you'll be able to get your clay out, which is nice. And the reason I didn't do a channel on this side and I did a channel on this side is so that when I pour the top side, I know which, when I'm putting it back together to pour my mold, I know which way they go back together. So I'm not sitting there and scratching my head because I have 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom of this mold that I just poured. You saw me scratching my head for it. Now the mold would not have fit together if I put it the wrong way, but I could have dipped the mold in and then it's in the urethane and then you got a mess on your hands. So I don't want to deal with that. You don't want to either. So it's smart to have some kind of registration mark, which, as you see, I just make them using the clay. And then when I pour the other half of the rubber, we want to get this out. So we have a clean line along the base of our model that we're molding. And we can trim any little bits we need to trim there. And then I'm curious, just as much as you are, for all the 1 or 2 of you that are watching that aren't bots. You could all be bots. I don't think the bots show up as active accounts, and we have what in here? Nobody chatting, which is, great. Streaming to myself. 4 people, so we got a couple people. Who's out there? Somebody say hello. Okay, I said hello, I get it. Real funny. It is warm in here. Oh man, these lights, even though they're LED, they do generate heat. I'm going to pull the rest of this clay off. I have a bigger registration mark in the center there. I have really no residual clay. So this looks like it turns out really well. And again, I don't care about any clay that's in the side of our mold here, as long as nothing is contacting the model, or if we need something to be in contact with the model to fix, you know, some kind of deformation. I am casting 45-year-old lenses, so they're not always perfect. But that's it. So now we have our first. We don't want to touch this. What I can do, since these are lenses, I can look through it. I could see if there was any bubbles, which I didn't need to, fortunately, because I saw it from the top side. The same thing happened with the other one. It's just because it's a bigger mold. So we can look and see if there were any bubbles. And then at this point, I could still peel the rubber back, and I could pour some more rubber underneath and fill any bubbles that might be there. But fortunately, we don't have any bubbles. So now we know our edges are sealed good on this wood because our mold did not leak. So what we got to do now is, this time I might actually cast the top with plastic, because here's my issue. Once I put that mold back in this box, I am not going to be able to get my glue gun back along the bottom edge. I guess I could put some glue there and then put the piece together, but that's a wide band to have the glue not dry before the piece gets together, in hopes that it doesn't leak. So in this case, now the glue did its job for the first half. The second half I'm going to pour with plastic so that I do not get any seepage from an area that I can't tell whether it's sealed or not until I'm pouring the silicone and it's leaking. And the only reason I'm going to peel this is because I just want to get this glue out of the corners so that the top side now, which does not have a glue pattern in it, will be able to sit all the way into the edge of this mold box. So you just got to peel this glue away. And like I said, again, I did go a little thick here, but I only have to pour this silicone twice. Once for the bottom of this mold, once for the top of this mold. So I'd rather go a little heavy with the glue and have a little extra glue that I have to fight getting off than not have enough and have a leak. And you know, the funny thing is, once you put it in the pressure pot, which is, you can't see, it's just out of sight in the corner, you know, it's a steel pot. You can't see inside it. There are vacuum chambers, and vacuum chambers do have clear lids where you can see the top of them. The pressure pots don't. So once it's going, it's going. If it leaks, it leaks. You don't know until 6 hours later, when 4 to 6 hours, when you open up the pressure pot. And if it leaked, all your resin could be cured in the bottom of the pressure pot. Now again, the silicone or rubber would come out. Wouldn't be that big of a deal. You'd just have a mess to cure, and you'd have some time wasted and a lot of rubber wasted, a lot of silicone mold wasted, because this is a lot of silicone mold. Now when I put this back in here, you're going to see we don't have a lot to pour for the top before we run out of space here. So I want to think about that and move this wood up a little, otherwise our top will be thin. But our top is thin on the other one too, and it's not really that big a deal, because this actually fits down inside of this. The top fits down inside, snug. So the first lens I cast was no problem with the thin top, so I'm not going to be concerned with it. Let me just get a piece of plastic. Before we move on to this and mix up some silicone, before we do that, let's take a peek. don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be doing our unboxing of our Zotac 4080 Super that we just received. Zotac was so kind as to send that to us for our next project PC that we will be working on, which is a personal project for my next personal PC. Alright, so that worked great. Little residual along the edge, did not seep past the tape. We're good. Now you'll see here that this will come right off the rubber. So before I open up the mold, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this off the edge here so I can kind of use the mold and break that away. And we're more than the 15-minute window. This resin, now you can see it has flexibility. Whoops. It's like plastic, figure plastic, okay? The backs of what I'm making here are plastic. So plastic doesn't have a lot of flexibility, especially not thinner plastics. A urethane would, a plastic will not. With that being said, you can look here and see this does have some give to it. Has some nice bend in it. Okay. So, pretty sure this is going to work perfectly for what we need it for. I actually like the color. It's a nice bright white, and it cleans up along that edge really nicely. It comes off of that mold, so I shouldn't have too hard of a time because, okay, so when you pour extra here, you're going to have a little seepage past your cast, and that's okay because it's a catch-22. If I poured the perfect amount, you wouldn't have that, so I probably will try to get it a little closer than this so I don't have this much seepage. But the good thing about these is voila. Now, as I was talking about before, remember, we had dirt all in this mold. We had clay stuck in the middle here. We had some stuff down into here. There was a few miscellaneous fuzzies and things of that nature. Well, guess what? They're all in our cast now. And you might be like, well, you don't want dirt in your cast. Of course you don't want dirt in your cast, okay? But you have dirt in your cast here. You have the clay that it picked up, and there's some that you can see. We didn't go too heavy with the cast, but we did go a little heavy. So I could probably pour, I poured 6 ounces. My next one, I'll probably pour 5. And then after that, I'll step down to like 4.5 until I get the perfect amount where I just have my castings filled. So at 4.5, I would put about a little more than 2 ounces in each one, which is probably about what's going to be perfect. With that being said, what comes up over the top of the mold here, okay, we're going to want to peel these out, and might be a little more difficult when you have the overrun here because it's like 2 pieces, or it's like 1 piece instead of 2. But that's what's nice about the silicone mold here. And you can really use this to make anything, to copy anything. Is that it flexes so you can get your mold out really easy. I usually typically just go like this and go around and break my seal. And then, and that actually came up. That actually broke off. That's good. This might do the same. And if it doesn't, I'll just take it out and then we'll check it out because so these were off of my car and they weren't perfect by any means. So I made some corrections. And in doing that, I fixed a couple of things. Which is the nice thing about casting, right? We use the clay to seal our model from the silicone, and we can also, we know that the the rubber, the silicone, the blue here, what I'm referring to as the silicone mold is the blue here. We know the blue will not stick to clay. Well, I'm going to say that lightly because you're going to have different types of clay. You're going to have different types of silicone that you're going to use to mold. So you want to verify what type of clay you're using and what type of silicone you're using so that your clay will not stick to the silicone that you're using. They're all going to be different. But we know that the clay that we're using for this type of silicone that we're using is not going to stick to it. So I was able to make a little bit of corrections in a couple of places so that this part that I take out of here is going to be better. Is the tape still in there? Huh. Okay, so the part that I molded, I taped up this hole. What I didn't realize is when I pulled these apart, because of that, this silicone was a little uncured here at the edge, but it's a lot better now, so I figured after a couple of molds it'll be fine, and plus this is going to form a gap. What I didn't take into consideration was that the tape was still in this part of the mold. I thought it came out with the lenses. I was wrong. I'm not sure that it's going to peel here now. And if it doesn't, let's look at the rest of this mold. In the interim, we have a nice thin line here, which means this should all just break away. And if not, we can get a razor blade and we can trim this stuff. But I just want to see, even for how much I over poured, how quickly we can clean this up. Oh. And do a little test fit. And that's really cool about this stuff too, because that 15-minute cure time is fantastic. It really makes these really nice to work with. And I did not sit it down as flat as I should have over here. I'm seeing that now too. There's a little bit of thickness, an extra thickness over here. So I definitely have to get a little bit more weight to have the two molds in one. Yeah, and if I don't want to have to play with this extra, so to have a better accurate measurement of the casting will be good too, because we did fill our holes here again, which those are easy to open up with a drill. And then we did form our tape here, which it's only a thin cast on it, but so it's pretty rigid. I don't know if I'll just be able to poke it out. Okay. So overall, this is a fail because with this being here on this piece of tape, and if that's not the piece of tape, then it's just because we didn't have enough pressure sitting down into our mold to put the two pieces of mold together. So that time will only tell with that. But with that being said, and that's important because that's where our light bulbs attaches into. But with that being said, this is our end goal. So let's see how we did. These are two test pieces. This is going to go this way. Yep. Okay. Nope, this is going to go this way. That's what I said the first time. And once we get this extra slag away, which is very easy to clean up, and like I said, in the next pour, there won't be as much left over. So you're going to break a little bit more off. What I'm coming to find out is the first pour out of these molds, for me, has more been a test, and I'm okay with that because even these pieces are usable for me Now, I couldn't sell one of these to my clients. I could, but it would take a lot of cleanup, right? And the whole point of this is to not have to do this. The whole point of this is to be able to make reproductions. This casting mold casts in 15 minutes. So the whole point is to be able to make reproductions quickly so that I can pump these out. And then we can spend our time doing the things that'll need to be done to these. Like the inside, we might paint silver to give reflecticity on our bulbs. Maybe not. Maybe we don't need it. It's a nice bright white. Okay. So, we're going to look here now, after I throw stuff on the ground, at, this is the right hand one. Here's our right hand one. Now you'll see what I meant as far as the differences here. Now this is my original lens. So you can see my rubber here that I used to remake the bottom portion of it because that was broken off. Okay. So our tape is there, which means it's just because my mold was not sitting down fully seated into the mold box. Alright, that's not a problem. Easy peasy. With that being said, what I'm looking for here is my holes line up great. Everything with this lines up. And we would have a complete lens here. Here is our connection for our light. Got it. Okay. Yep. I can see that there. We got the dirt out. The differences are going to be here. You're going to see that this thickness here is about maybe a 1/16 or a little more, 3/32 of an inch all the way down. Whereas mine was not sitting tight. So we have a tall edge over on this side and then our appropriate height edge on this side. That really wouldn't affect anything, like I said, so I could use these. And again, these are going to be better than your original broken pieces. So now what I can do with the mold is, first I can adjust how much I pour. Second, I can adjust anything else that I see in here. Like this stuff back here I'm not going to worry about, because this is all cleanup that you really won't have to do too much once the mold sets, once I pour a couple more of these. But I do have to make sure that when I pour another one that I get the mold down tight into the box so that we don't get this extra height here, because that's going to affect everything else. But as far as everything else looks good. This piece here, which is not even necessary, just kind of goes to so that the lens stays in place left to right. So it does that. It keeps it in line. Our holes are lined up. Our lens looks good. We have a little extra up here. That's from the extra runoff that we have. Everything else looks good on the back side. I might be using the wrong lens too, so they're directional. I don't know why. This was the 80s and GM was doing weird things. But yeah, this one's it needs cleaning up. That's a no-brainer. Other than that, this is a success because we'll be able to reproduce both sides of these. And this is an intricate mold to have this much of a depth in our silicone going down into our other piece. So with that being said, I think we have a win here, and I'm going to have to work on these, okay, but I anticipated that already. So it's nothing that I did not expect. And that was just our first one out. Let's take our second one out here. And our second one here. Yeah, see, it's just the mold was a little high. This one's not as bad as far as being different heights down the side. I did make sure it was seated a little better on this side of the mold pocket. So I just need to possibly get a heavier weight, which I have no problem, and make sure that I have a flat surface like that, which is good, and then put a flat surface on top and put a heavier weight so it holds even surface across the mold. again, all of these things are easy general fixes. These molds, the time that it would take me to clean everything out of my silicone molds, including the residual clay, the time that this just pulled it out for me in a matter of 15 minutes, and the little bit of material that this used, yeah, you can see it still is a little thicker on the one end, so it did pull the same way. We do still have our molded area down there, and that's because our top piece wasn't fully sitting down on our bottom piece, but that's okay. That is more than okay, because what we're trying to accomplish here is, do we have something that will work with our lenses? And yes, we do. We have a good mold that just needs a little tweaking the next time we cast it. So I'm going to, since this was part of my problem, okay, I don't think I can just put this together. I think that's where part of my issue lies. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm putting it in the wrong way, see? Yeah, and then this sticks up. So I have to make sure that all my edges are seated down. Maybe before the end of the stream, I'll pour another one. But for now, we're going to put these in the drawer. And the reason that I'm saying these will work is, here's an original. Those ones were gray. Here's the original other ones that we'll be making. The color is, just a very plain color. So this will be fine, and this stuff can be painted if someone wanted to paint it. But that'll work out fine. So now we need to mix up the rubber for the top of this and get it in the pressure pot. So let's move back to that for now. Put this in there. Clean off our table area. What do I need to do here? You know what I should have done? Should have done what I need to do, which is coat the top of this and then did that. I could have had time to let this dry up. Not a problem. Not a problem. Plastic. Oh. I do have a couple little bubbles still, but I think those are not going to be an issue. So I'm not going to worry about that. Like I said, I can always flip it back over and pour underneath if I need to. Plastic. Do I have a piece of plastic? Pretty sure I do. Yes. And now what type of plastic? You can buy, any plastic, Walmart, Home Depot. If you had a small enough mold, you could probably use a Walmart bag. Any kind of plastic. Just make sure it doesn't have holes in it, because the silicone that we're pouring, well, it's not as thin as water. It is almost as thin as water. And it will find its way out. So let's put this back in the mold box. And then what I do is just pull our edge up. Put our box back together. Make sure our screws line up. After you put the screws in and out a couple of times, you have your holes, so you can actually get them started a couple of turns, typically by hand. So it makes the assembly a little easier. Makes things a little easier to screw back together. And then when we do this, this forms our rubber back into the shape of our box. So it will press on. Yeah, see, and we can see that these bubbles opened up a little bit as we did that, so I'm not going to worry about it. I can always, just to be sure, add a little bit more rubber after we pour the top mold. And when we pour the top mold, if it does seep around the bottom, that's not going to be too much of a concern of mine either, because we already have good bottom molds. So if it does, it's literally just going to fill in if there is an air gap. The rubber is a little bit different to work with. The silicone molding, a little bit different. So you have to make sure that you mix it thoroughly. I mean, it's very similar to the silicone, or to the resin that we poured, but it's a little different. And see, now we have this gap here. Not going to worry about it because I have my plastic. Now we know we can only pour to the top edge. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tape around my edge. And all this is really going to do is keep the plastic from moving around. Okay. And now I'm just going to trim up my plastic here. And before I get to the next part of this, I'm going to try something out here, guys. I'm going to switch categories. It seems like on this fine Wednesday evening, nobody wants to watch people doing this kind of stuff. I'm going to go back to science and technology because we are going to be getting to our 4080 unboxing sooner rather than later. So then we just trim up our plastic. Now, there is a volume method that we can use to calculate how much rubber we're going to need. We subtract our mold from that, or our piece from that. It's basically length times width times height times 18.5, and that gives you how much volume of space you'll need here for your silicone. It's important and it's not important. Here I know I have about 1/4 inch of space, so I can do, this is 10 by 13, so 130, 1/4 of 130 is 25, about 30, let's just say. Alexa, what's 30 times 18.5?
30 times 18.5 is 555.
So that's 555. And then I have it, there's an online calculator that you can put this into. That's 555 grams. And then you would convert that from grams to ounces. 555 grams is 20 ounces. So that's 10 ounces of part A, 10 ounces of part B. What that's going to do is fill up our mold box here. Okay, so now we need to fill up the inside. And that is let's just say 8 by 8 by 1.5. So 8 times 8 is 64. Times 1.5 is about 90. Alexa, what's 64 times 1.5?
64 times 1.5 is 96.
Alexa, what's 96 times 18.5?
96 times 18.5 is 1,776.
So that's 1,776 grams. A little fan on. So we remember our other 20 ounces, so we'll take 1,776 grams to ounces is 60. So total we would need about 80 ounces of mix. And what I have found in doing that is that it tends to be a little off. Not much, just a little, but a little nonetheless. Can't tell if we have anybody over here. Can't tell. Either way. I'm going to make a quick adjustment here. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. That's even worse. All right. And we're back. Either you're back with me or you're seeing a bunch of ads. One way to find out. Subscribe. With Amazon Prime, it's free. Guys, I'm tired. It's 3 o'clock. But we're going to go back at it. So I still think that I need to put I have 2 screws out of my mold box. Did I forget to put them in the other side? Let's see. 2 in there. 2 in there. No. All our screws are in. Okay, we're going to get rid of this stuff. In the effort of trying to stay organized. And I'm going to grab 2 more mixing cups. My mixing cup, you lift me up. Let's pour some silicone. That's how that song goes, right? I forget. We're going to try to pour 30 and 30 ounces. The nice thing is, with the silicone, I have, a window a lot greater than a couple of minutes before this is even going to think about starting to set. I tend to like to want to get it all poured in 1, or 2. But if I pour it and I'm not up to the edge where I want to be, it's not a big deal because I can mix up a little bit more than I might need and pour it in. So that said, I believe we needed, 80 or 90 ounces? Instead of just going ahead and mixing up a third one of these full, because as we know, the silicone is not cheap, we're going to mix up 2 of these to 30 ounces each. So that's 15 and 15. And sheesh. Let's hope I have enough. Forgot I used so much of that already. Let me get another glove. And that is not my first kit, that is my third kit from these molds that I've been making. And I need to finish this one so I can make a set. And the most important part that I'm trying to make right now is these lenses, which are turning out fantastic. And I do have my tint cups around here somewhere because I have made all my tinted colors, which is, you know, really cool. Right here. So, you know, you have your average or your standard red lenses, and then we're going to do, of course, the clear set. And then I got to do another one of these cups with the orange, because the orange never solidified for some reason. It's all the same resin, but I got to make sure the amber solidifies, because one of the lenses is amber is going to be an important color. So we have our 6 that'll be our primaries here, right? If people want a blue tinted lens, I can do that. Yes, it's illegal, but these are not for use on the road. If somebody uses it on the road, we're not to be held liable. These are for sale for off-road use only if we use it in one of these colors. These are not standard colors that we're going to offer, because we don't want to be held liable like that. If somebody wants a custom color, it is going to be a little bit more money, and there's going to be a disclaimer that they'll have to sign, or a disclaimer in the listing for, you know, additional colors that say blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying. We have things like our black tinted here, which we can see how dark that is. It almost looks opaque there. But if we look in this light, in this camera, and we put a little... Can I even get that on phone? I don't think so. Can I get that it's opaque? Or that it's translucent? I can't, unless I had a light here. I don't think I have a light on me. You could probably see my finger behind it. No, maybe not on the camera. Maybe not. Maybe over here. Yeah, we can see that it's translucent. When the light shows through it, it's a very light tinted color, which is cool. Because a lot of people like to have tinted lenses. Or they buy an aftermarket plastic cover that goes over it, or they use tint, or they use a spray paint on their lens, which ruins the lens. You can't ever go back. This way you can have them tinted. This one is a clear, but it's not a perfectly clear, it's a frosted clear. So instead of having a perfectly clear lens, you'd have a frosted lens, so you wouldn't see the bulb or anything inside of the housing. This will be our nice red lens, which matches our red lenses perfectly. Our amber, which is the same. And then we will offer a green option also. We do have other colors at this point in time. I'm not going to get into that. Just these for now that we have tested, and we have proven them, and we have tested them in UV and all that kind of good stuff to make sure that we're going to have good products that we can sell off. So now, I don't know why, but I have less. Typically I pour part A in first, which is the kind of clear portion of this. I'm going to pour part B first because I want to make sure that I have enough to do 2 cups. I should. Okay, good. Oops. Oh, that's 15 and a half. That's fine. So I'll just fill that up to 31. And that's really okay. If I had the reservoir for it, I probably would use the rest of this, because I'm probably going to end up having to use the rest of this. But before I waste that, because that is enough to make a mold for something, we'll just keep it to the side for now. This one's got to go to 31. And with these, it's really important to scrape our edges and mix for approximately 3 minutes so that we know we get a good mixture. I do have a thing I can use on my drill. It's a little messy. I'm not going to do that in my office. This is virtually odorless. All of the materials that I'm using are virtually odorless, which is why I'm doing this in my office without, my ventilation system running or wearing a mask or anything like that. The resins is typically what can have, the chemicals and stuff that you don't want to breathe. But I didn't pour any resin like that here on street. I'm just working tonight with our silicone and then our other resin, which doesn't have any odors. So now at this point, I'm going to have my AI assist me again. Alexa, start a timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes, starting now.
And so you'll see as I mix these, I'll show you because we're nice and under the camera here, but as we're mixing this around, and yes, we can do one-of-a-kind lenses. We can do any custom lens. If you have a request, you can send us the lens. We will make your lens. So if you want a custom color, big, small, I can really make any size. Just the size is going to dictate the cost. The size, the complexity, and the rarity. Because, if you send me something that's completely broken, I bought a set of lenses that are cracked pretty good that I'm going to experiment with, and I'm going to get some plastic fillers and I'm going to just fill them in because I don't need the lens that I'm making a mold of to be clear, right? I just need it to be the exact thickness and size that it's going to be when I make the clear lens or the tinted lens. What I need is it to be exact so that we have a good replica to make from. So I am going to experiment with that so that if people have damaged lenses on a rare car or something like that, they could send them to me. I can fix them. Of course, there will be a cost involved in fixing them. There is always risk involved with that, and that it'll be damaged and unrepairable, and but I won't do something that I don't think I can do. That's also a big thing for me, is if I tell you I can do it, I'm going to get it done. If I say I can't do it, I can't do it. It's just that simple. Alexa, how much time is left on the timer?
You have 1 minute left on your 3-minute timer.
As you mix this stuff more, you start to see when it's mixed. This one's mixed good, but I'm going to mix it for at least another 30 seconds because I want to make sure that I go along the bottom very well. I'm scraping the bottom. I hold this close to me and I rotate the cup all the way around, so I scrape the edge and we get a good mixture. Typically why I pour part A first is the clear part goes in and then the blue goes on top. And then as you start mixing, you see the clear disappear and become one with the blue. Haha. And at that point, you got a good mix. And that also helps with when you're scraping the sides, the clear will be at the edges more so prominent, and you got a good scrape on the edges and everything. Alexa, stop the timer.
3-minute timer canceled.
And we're just going to take this up. We're going to go right into our other container here. Alexa, start a timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes, starting now.
And now as I'm stirring this, you see here, you can see that on the center here that it's kind of clear still. That's our clear portion. So you can see the swirls still making from that clear. And so we scrape the edge really good. When I'm doing this, I'm scraping the bottom of the cup really well and all to the edges. And then we're just going to keep stirring. If I had used the stirs that I have for my drill bit, or for my drill, I probably wouldn't have to stir these for 3 minutes each. But again, as you mix these, you can see the product mixing together as long as you know what you're looking for. And after a few times of doing this, you really get an idea for where this is and what it's doing. So, go around the edges again. You want to go around the edges, I want to say at least 1 or 2 times. And, you know, pick a starting point so you know you went fully around the edge. I try to stir a little bit, go around the edge one time, maybe 20-30 seconds after stirring, and then stir for another 30 seconds to a minute, do it again, and then do it one last time before I'm finished. And each time I go around the edge, I also scrape the bottom. So now you can see I have this little blue spot here from when I moved the paddle over from that mix to this mix. So I'm going to start at that point, and I have it all the way to my edge in my transparent cup so I can see it through the side here. See if I can lift this up to show you guys. These cups are very thin that I have. You can see the wood through the side. So I hold it like that, and then I spin my cup. And that way I know that I'm mixing all the way to that side edge. And I circle all the way back around till I'm back at my beginning mark. Then I go like this along the bottom, kind of from left to right all the way. And then I circle the edges, and then we just stir again. And at this point, we're pretty stirred in. We have a good mix going. Alexa, how much time is left on the timer?
You have 30 seconds left on your 3-minute timer.
30 seconds left. So we're mixed pretty good here. There's no discoloration, there's no swirling, there's nothing like that. So go ahead and pull out. Alexa, stop the timer. And I try to come up and scrape the stick as clean as I can as I come up out of the material, so that I don't have this that's going to pour all over. And now we will see. Alexa, stop the timer. And now we'll see if... The nice thing about this silicone, if you get a drop on your table or whatever, like I showed you the few that I peeled off earlier, don't worry about it. It's just going to peel right off later. So there's nothing to be worried about with the silicone. Pretty much on anything, your floor or anything. Don't take my word for that. And now with this, what we're going to do is, we have our plastic, so we know we have a sealed edge. I want to verify one more time that our plastic is good. Okay, good. And we're going to pour a little high, right in the center. And you're going to see how this looks like a lot of silicone and disappears inside this mold real quick. But with that being said, we filled up about 3/4 of our pocket, which means I might have enough in the second batch that's mixed up. I might have enough. And now I'm just doing the same thing and scraping the edges just to get all my extra silicone out of there. After all, we did work really hard to mix that up. And get most of it out, and then I'll scrape that kind of clean. I'll set this cup to the side. If you do have to mix some more, I was putting my cups together for a while, but if you do have to mix some more, you actually don't want to do that, because have to mix a little more here. Then I won't be able to see my measuring lines. Wow, that is... My table must be on a slant. Oh, it's coming back this way. Okay. This one's not going to be as critical to scrape my silicone out because we're going to mix some more. I had a feeling I might need the rest of that silicone. I had a feeling. But what can I say? It's not my first time. And now I'm going to prop up the edge of this so that we can get our float, because we are definitely going down on the slope here. So either my table is unlevel or my floor is a little unlevel, which wouldn't surprise me. So we'll just use a couple of coasters here just to give me a little bit of prop up along the edge here. Carefully. This is like liquid, so if we go too high, we're going to go too high on the other side, and they're going to have a counter effect from where we're at, which is exactly what we did. We went too high. So I need something a little shorter. Let's just put a couple screws under here. That'll suffice. That should give us what we need. Yep. That should be good. All right. Get these back out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and mix up, that's not very much. Just a little bit more. I got enough in here. Okay, it's about 3.5 ounces. That leaves me enough to make a small mold in here. In this huge bottle, which sucks. 3.5. If you're pouring for a smaller mold like this, it's going to take a lot less stirring time. The larger molds are definitely more difficult in all aspects. You can also get larger mixing cups too, so you wouldn't have to do this multiple times. You could just mix it all together once in 3-minute at a 3-minute interval. I'm not even going to set a timer for this because I know that if I mix it up for about a minute, I'll have enough. And I can look inside and watch my mix and watch my coloring and know when I'm good. So I'll just mix this up a bunch. We'll scrape our edge around here one time. They're so shallow in here that it doesn't need much. And I'm thinking I'm probably gonna just get enough in here. To fill this box to the top. Sometimes I set a timer anyway because I get impatient, even for, a minute, just to know that I'm mixing for a minute. Because sometimes when you're doing this and you're just mixing these little bits and these little bits and these little bits, you just lose track of it. But we're almost there. Let me just check something real fast. Okay. All right. Let's get this poured in. Then we're going to put this into our casting pot, pressure pot, casting pot. Kind of the same thing. And I'm going to let this sit for a minute before I actually move it into the pressure pot. I'm going to have to be very careful when I put this in there to make sure that I don't set it on level, because otherwise I'm going to spill all over the place. Like I just said, you shouldn't do. Guess who's back? Back again. Okay. I mean, I can't get any more fluid in there. The only thing I could have done was made this a little taller, which I don't want to do because I don't have the extra silicone right now. The good thing is, the very good thing is, our whole center section is filled, and I know I have at least a 1/4 inch up above, which is about the same as my other one. So we should be fine. No problemo. No problemo. It's just very full. I'm almost wondering if I should run a bead of hot glue along the top edge so that if it leans one way or the other, you don't come out. So I do have to move it. You know, anybody ever poured you like a glass of soda so full that you like walk in like, don't spill the soda, because you didn't think that, hey, I can just take a sip on it before I move it. Yeah, we're gonna run a bead of glue along the top edge just to be safe. Got a glue stick. Glue gun. No, it's better over here. And this is just so that if my so my pressure pot, I don't have a perfect level system figured out yet. Front to back and side to side. This is, again, I just got this in this place last night. And the table that it's on has a recessed base, so I have a wood piece on top, which isn't quite deep enough. Anyways, I want to make a couple pieces of wood that sit under it because it's curved, and I have it laid on its side. Which, since I'm standing here, let's turn the camera a little, and we'll get it in the picture. It's in the back corner there. We move this out of the way. Oh, you can see it a little better. Yeah, there we go. There's our pressure pot in the corner there. And so I have it laying on its side because this would be too long to set down into it, most of the stuff that I'm doing. And then I can actually cast a couple of things at a time when it's on its side, a couple of the other projects that I'm doing. So come on, glue gun. You're not hot enough yet. Okay. I'm just going to pour hot glue all over the floor, but it's not hot enough to make hot glue. So I'm just doing this so that when I put it in, there we go. I have a little bit of extra border up on the top here. I'm going to need another glue stick. I don't want this to get into my silicone. I just want to create a little border. So if it leans one way or another, I'm not worried about it because this will protect, you know, so give me a little bit, which is all I need. This is the primary areas in the back here. But I do need to get this in the pressure pot quickly because it will. The pressure pot, what that does is it removes bubbles. So if you're casting something clear, definitely want to do it in a pressure pot. And with that said, if you're going to cast whatever project in the pressure pot, you also need to cast your mold in the pressure pot. So I don't even think I need to put any more over there. I think we'll be good with that. That's why we're casting our mold in a pressure pot. Okay. And the air compressor is going to turn on. I'm using my small airbrush compressor, so it takes about 6 minutes to fill up the pressure pot. So that is going to turn on in a minute once we get this in the pot. Now, let's put it in the pressure pot without spilling. It's not an easy thing when the mold is that full. It's not an easy thing. Whew. Yeah, that's not fun. And this literally takes up the entire depth of the pressure pot. So we need to make sure we have it square and level. And then we'll put our lid on and we will drop it back towards us just a hair, right? That's what I want to do. Do that now. This way I know I don't have to move the pressure pot after I have this set in here. No, because that's perfect. Okay, a hair more back the other way. Yep. So what our pressure pot is going to do is it's going to remove all the bubbles from this silicone so that when we cast our clear mold in our silicone, when we cast our clear resin mold, I can talk properly. In our silicone mold, there's no bubbles in our silicone. That could pop under pressure. Okay, that's about as close as I'm going to get it. Nobody breathe for the next 30 seconds. Hold your breath with me. shift the pressure pot. Don't rock the boat. All of those cliches. And we do get all of our, of course, latches on one at a time, corner to corner. We do get them all snug, and then we do tighten down in a crisscross pattern. Doing that while not moving the pot, because it's a round pot on a square board. And this is all physics, folks. I hope you're keeping up with me so far. Okay, good. Once we get everything tightened down, check and make sure. And now this doesn't have to be crazy, crazy tight, right? Because doesn't have to be crazy tight, because once we put pressurize it, that's the whole point of the pressure pot. So at this point, we're going to connect our compressor. And then we have our open and close valve on the side here, which is kind of irrelevant unless you're going to be doing this. Fortunately, this is the part of the reason why I'm using my small airbrush compressor, because it is very quiet. So Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
5 minutes and 30 seconds, starting now.
I did a stopwatch earlier just to get about an estimated idea of how much time it takes the little compressor to fill it up, and it's about probably 6.5 minutes. So that just gets it close. And then fingers crossed, when we come out of there, we'll be good. We'll be good. And while that's starting, let's mix up another one of these guys. Hey, look at that. You weren't following me. See? I told you. It's your fault. It's your fault. That could be why you didn't see me live. And thank you for the follow, Donnie. Welcome in. All these times you tell people in your channel, go follow Mark. He builds PCs and does cool shit. You didn't even follow me. Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I see how it is. I understand. So, we're starting with a little mold making, as you can see. And I was on like Science and Technology and all that crap, and there's like 300 people viewing, so I figured I'd come over to Just Chatting, where I'm among the masses, and see if I can get, some people in here, which isn't really working that great, but it's okay. And after that, we're going to be opening up our 4080 Super that Zotac sent us over for our next project. But I'm going to go ahead and pour this one more time, because I want to pour another one of these with 5 ounces, and see if I can get closer to... I think you have been here before. Well, no, I shouldn't say I think. I know you've been here before, but... yeah, it's funny how that works. No, I was like, I didn't even realize what time it was, and before I was getting that one ready to go into the pressure pot, I looked up at the time and I was like, Okay, we're at 35 psi, not much longer. And I was like, oh man, it's almost 3 something. And I saw you were playing Hitman earlier. And I was like, he goes a little extra because I was gonna pop in your chat and be like, hey Donnie, I'm live. Yeah, so, and then time ran away from me and it was like 3:15 and I was like, oh, let me go see if he's online. And you were already offline, so I was like, oh, okay, I guess I missed it. And I looked at a few other people that I know you raid just to see if you popped in somebody's channel, and I didn't really see anything, so I figured you didn't raid anybody. I know lately it's kind of been on and off whether you have it or not. But Alexa's going to remind me of that. Oh yeah, I need these. I was like, hey, okay. So let's pour 5 ounces of these guys this time. Wait. This has a quick working time. Let me get everything I need here. Yeah, no, I get that. That makes sense. Maybe in the little guy, when I end, I always try to go raid somebody and be like, hey, look, I do things online. I've been trying to do this more, getting the office a little more organized and things like that. I was set up with my desk over here. I just recently had to change that around because I have too much going on that kind of prevents me from streaming. And then I'm actually going to be taking a couple of side gigs, doing some stuff, some remote work and stuff like that, just because business and everything has been slow. Yeah, go make food, because if you don't eat, then you die. Somebody told me that one time. I don't remember who. We're going to get this shut off. Just about. Alexa, how much time is left on the timer?
You have 20 seconds left on your 5 minute.
We're going to get this set off in just about 20 seconds. Alexa, stop the timer.
5 minute and 30-second timer canceled.
But we have been doing a lot of projects with our laser. These are some emblems. I need to get to airbrushing. We have some stuff here on our 3D printer that I printed out the other day that I still have to clean and then get cured in our cure box. Wow, I almost ran out of 3D fluid. How is that possible? I didn't spill it, did I? When I moved the machine? No. This thing weighs like 120 pounds. Thought I, you know what, maybe I did not add. Well, that could explain why that did that at the bottom. Maybe I didn't add the extra resin. I thought I did. Well, anyways. Yeah, this is our new big 3D printer. Thing's freaking huge for a resin printer. Huge. Let me get a stir stick. I'm going to do 5 ounces this time, guys. 5 ounces. And I'm going to look to not see any come up over the edge. I'm going to cut it back an ounce. And then after that, we're going to get to the fun part. This is so 5 ounces. Two and a half. You can see as soon as you pour this in, you can see that color start to change because that chemical reaction starts to take place and the two start to mix. Again, I'm not sure why people said this was, curing in 30 seconds unless their 30 seconds is not the same 30 seconds as my 30 seconds, and unless they were working in like 100 degrees or something, because I get a good amount of time with this here. And it mixes really easily. I'm going to go ahead and okay. Now it goes this way. Let's get that together. And again, it was too much. But this time, I know this sets up. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. I want to make sure that I get good pressure on this time. Actually, let's grab the real weights. Woo! Some got past my tape. That's okay. It's as far as it got. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to let it cure. I'm going to let it cure. So 5 ounces is too much, so maybe 4.5 ounces, like I said. I think 4.5 ounces is probably going to be the sweet spot. Probably going to be the sweet spot. Yep. All right. Let's let that cure. Let's clean up our mess. And then this is what's cool about the silicone. That's why I tell you not to really worry too much about it, because, in these cups and everything, like, these are so flimsy I can't get it out of the bottom, but it just sets up and then you can just throw it away. You don't really have too much of a mess to worry about. Typically I have, there we go, paper towels or something around. Okay. Yeah, I mean, tonight, Donnie, I wanted to do these 2 molds. I had them set up for and ready to go. I just got this stuff today. And so I wanted to get the test ones in. Test it out. Actually works out really good. But the nice thing about this stuff is it cures in like 15 minutes. So it should be cured up pretty quick there. Should have moved it to a different spot to cure, because how do I do the unboxing of my 4080 now? I didn't think about that. Maybe I just bring a box in front of me and sit and do it in front of the camera. Make the other camera the main camera. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, 4080 time. 4080 Super. Move this camera back a little bit. That's pointing at the ceiling now. Why did you do that, camera? All right. We're just gonna grab this box. Call it a table. Should have thought about that before I poured those last few little those last cast. which it'll set up in 15 minutes. That's not the point. I don't want to sit around and just watch paint dry, as they say. So we'll just use a box. We'll go this way. There we go. All right. And we're good. Pretty soon we'll have our new chair so we can be more comfortable. Well, I have my new chair. I should say pretty soon I'll have my new chair built so it can be more comfortable. I wonder if I turn the overhead light off now. What do you think? Let's see. Is that too dark? Is that too dark if I'm sitting up here? I don't care about the background so much. Yeah, that's a little dark. Okay, we'll leave it on. Maybe this one will be good. Is that enough light even though it's behind me? No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's good. We're just going to roll with this. We'll just call this a thing. All right. So, I have a project coming up. It's going to be my new PC. And it's going to include some other cool stuff that I work with. Yeah, okay, I need more light. Just need more light. Now, with my 3D printing and things like that, with some of the products that I sell, which you can find all that online at lucidmade.com. See if I have the right things here. Okay. A couple of tires, a couple of this, a couple of that. Beautiful. 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 So what's really cool is when you make stuff, you can really make anything, right? Anything. You can really make anything. And that's what I'm doing here. So this project is going to be a project that's going to be a collaboration of my real life car. So it'll have things like these. Camera. Which are the wheels that are on my real life car. Of course, wider in the back. And then my real life car which I need to paint this still. I'm going to sand it down and then I'm going to paint it to match the car, my real life car. My light up there, because my light's over there. But it is, you know, there's my front end, my tail lights. This is my car. Here's my wheels. So we're going to build the car, And the car isn't, I mean, I can't build a computer inside here. It's too small. But this is just going to be utilized as a part of the build. So it'll probably be like sitting on top of the computer case. And then the case is going to get painted the same color also, and the same color as the car. So then for the final photo shoot I'm going to do, I'm going to have the car, the computer, the model car, and tie all three together. The computer will get done sooner because I'm not sure when I'm going to get to painting the car. And if I don't get to painting the car by the end of April here in Florida, unless I get lucky with a week in May where I have cool weather, I'm done until December. So, you know, I'm just a small business guy here that's getting my ass kicked by this economy. I can't afford to send it somewhere to paint. Doing it myself, just kind of like I do everything else. And the business is slow and things like that, so I've been focused on work. And, you know, everything else kind of has to wait, projects and fun stuff, when you got to work and make money. And I'm working a couple of jobs at this point, and it'll be 3 very soon, you know, plus the business. Because, I mean, everybody's hurting with the economy, and I get it. And my business is dependent upon, you know, I don't get paid by insurance, I get paid by people. So when people don't have frivolous money to spend on things like, you know, models of cars and car accessories and, you know, fancy high-end computers and things like that, well, my business suffers. So I am going to be moving to selling on Walmart, so you'll see my stuff there soon. But you know, you can't expect miracles to happen, even though I wish they would. We had a really big downfall at the end of last year where we got scammed online. A couple of people stole people's credit cards, bought computers. No red flags were thrown up. Forms were signed. What's really cool is in the very center of this. You can actually see it says the name of the wheel in there. Okay, anyways. So we thought everything was legit, and it was not legit. And the computers were gone. And even though the items were insured, they were signed for, and the name matched the person's name that they used. The credit card name didn't match. And right before 60 days, either the people that did this didn't steal a credit card, and they filed a chargeback, and they have a 60-day window to do that. And so either they used somebody else's credit card or used their own credit card, and then they filed a chargeback saying they had no recollection of the charge. So like it was fraud, like somebody else used their card and purchased this item. The online IP addresses could not be traced. I tried all of that stuff. They probably used a VPN or something. So at that point, there wasn't anything that I could do except eat the cost. For a small business, $10,000 to $15,000 is a big deal. So, without further ado, let's proceed with the ribbon cutting ceremony. Bum, bum, bum. Let's cut the tape. Can you smell that fresh electronics? I do want to again thank Zotac. I've worked with them on many projects in the past. I have worked with them on CES projects. They sponsored graphics cards for me for a couple of CES projects that I did that were in different companies' booths. And I also had my Bumblebee build that was at the Zotac booth. It was a huge hit. Everybody loved Bumblebee. He sits over there on my desk. I'll get him probably set up on top of one of my 3D printers or on a shelf up so he can be in the stream. But before we take the card out and look at it, let's get into a little talk here. Let me set something else up also, because I do want to have this video done in multiple ways. So we're going to turn our camera on here. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. This is going to be our unboxing for our Zotac 4080 amp, 4080 Super, the amp version. Zotac just sent this over for us. This is going to be for our next personal PC project. Follow on all the socials, like this video, subscribe to the channel. That's all free. It helps us more than I can tell you. We do have our link tree at the bottom of every one of these videos. Go check out our for sales, our lucidmade.com site. We sell everything from computers to 3D printed parts, to laser made accessories, to custom molds, and you name it, we make it and we do it. We also have CNC machines and plasma CNC machines. And then we have other CNC facilities available at our disposal with other companies that we outsource with. We do 3D design and a lot of that kind of stuff, and we do work with other partners with those things as well, so we can get a lot of stuff done even though I'm a one-man show. So we're going to get into the 4080 Super. Let's take a look. Of course, the box is very similar to, like, if you guys saw the 4090s. Very similar. I have one of those over there. We've done a couple of builds with them. I love the Zotac cards. They're not traditional square type cards. Some people are going to love that. Some people are going to hate it. I personally like it. So on the back here, of course, if you're familiar with Zotac, we have our Ice Storm 2.0, which is our GPU cooling. We have our Firestorm, which is our UI, in which we can tune the graphics card, graphics speeds, fan speeds. You can monitor those things, monitor temperatures, and also adjust your lighting of your card. It has what's called a freeze tech, which your fans will stop at idle if they're not needed to cool the GPU. And then the Spectra, which I think that's all inside one application. That's your customizable RGB lighting. Again, this is a 16 gig card. We are at DDR6X. A little bit more of the key features on the card. We have our dedicated ray tracing and tensor cores, NVIDIA DLSS 3 game ready and studio ready drivers, of course, from NVIDIA and the GeForce Experience. You also have NVIDIA Broadcast, G-Sync, and GPU Boost. This is PCI Express Gen 4. Other stuff we know: Vulkan RT APIs, Vulkan 1.3 OpenGL 4.6, HDCP 2.3. This also supports DisplayPort 1.4a up to 4K at 240 Hz or 8K at 60 Hz with DSC and HDR. And then it's HDMI 2.1a up to 4K with 240 Hz and 8K with 60 Hz. Same specifications. It's the Ada Lovelace architecture, of course. AI accelerated performance, and there's not a whole lot more that we can say about it. Of course, DirectX 12 Ultimate. I love their graphics. I love the little bit of green flare, just as, you know, of course, it's an NVIDIA architecture graphics card made by Zotac. So now from that point, we're going to look at our box here. This is our main box. This is just our fancy box that is sealed from the factory. A lot of these companies that have a fancy box don't put a factory seal on them, and I don't quite understand that, because a lot of people like to see the factory seal to know that, you know, somebody's got a car that they're selling that's brand new. Maybe they bought it, they can't return it. maybe they opened it and they used it for 6 months and now they're trying to sell it like brand new. So I like to see the factory seal, even though this is just a graphical box. This is the actual cardboard box that supports the padding and everything else inside. Of course, again, it has our Zotac Gaming logo on the front and just one latch here, our two side flaps that pick up, and the whole top opens up. From this point inside, again, if you're familiar with Zotac, we have this little packet which has our kind of booklet inside that gives some more information. Love gaming, power the win. And then, for the big reveal, we have this nice foam, maybe about 3/8 of an inch thick, that sits along the top. Here, okay, and this is important, and I like that they have this kind of big and bold. These cards are big and heavy. The 4080 Supers, I mean, even the 3 Series cards were big and heavy, but the 4080 Supers, the 4090s are huge, massive cards, massive. So if you're going to have this horizontally mounted in a case, you're going to have GPU sag. It's just inevitable. And all of that weight to be hanging on your PCIe slot is probably not a good idea without some kind of support bracket. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about our, of course, power connector. So this basically says, caution, it is highly recommended to use the bundled GPU support stand to prevent sagging and ensure long-term operational reliability. Now, if we have this heavy card hanging, and I'll demonstrate that to you, what's going to happen is the weight of the cooler, and the cooler itself is held on, of course, the PCB by screws. But the PCB is plastic. The screws are small. The weight of that cooler, you don't want it pulling down on the PCB that's in a little tiny slot in your motherboard. Pulling down on that slot, you're just asking for damage. So Zotac, very nicely, very thought out, has sent with us this little guy. Before we go any further, let's take a look at him. It's in this little white, almost non-transparent bag, and it just has one thumb screw on the front. It's got padding on the bottom. It's got a crisscross pattern here, little X's, and that'll sit nice on the bottom of your case, or if you have a power supply shroud, it'll sit nicely on that. If you do have a power supply shroud, there is more than enough adjustability to lower it so that you can still get in the height of that graphics card that's going to be sitting on your motherboard. Or there's enough height to raise it so that we can have enough, and again, a rubber pad here to sit against the graphics card. We have about 3¼ inches of travel for support. Alexa, what is 3.25 inches in millimeters?
3.25 inches is 82.55 millimeters.
So you have about 80 millimeters, or 3.25 inches, of adjustability for your graphics card support that is supplied with your graphics card by Zotac. So that's a really nice thing to see. Sorry, I sat down on some resin as I was doing a different project over here. And then we come with our 12-volt power adapter. If you don't have a power supply with a dedicated 12-volt power adapter, you're going to want this guy, which of course it's supplied. This one takes 3 8-pin. The 4090s take 4 8-pin. I know there was a lot of controversy about these when these cards were first released, and what I can tell you is, don't believe the controversy. I think a lot of people were having problems. This is a little tiny connector. It does not clip snap like you're used to with your 8-pin power connectors. And I think there was a lot of controversy because people were not plugging these in all the way. They were getting some kind of arcing possibly, or maybe a power supply that just wasn't supplying enough power, whatever the case might have been, fires, etc., blah, blah, blah. I think that's all said and done. But I've been using a 4090 since they released, and one of these with 4 8-pins. It had 0 issues. That's why they supply these things. Typically, it's always better to have one direct from your power supply. But if you don't, and you just bought one, and you have enough power, and you know that it's strong enough, and you know that it's good quality, don't worry about it. Just go and don't worry about it. Use this. If you want something a little more aesthetically pleasing, They do make adapters like this that are longer, or there are other companies out there that can make one that actually uses this and then can go direct to your power supply, 8 pins, so you don't have an extra connection in here either. Great sleeving companies out there that work like that. And this is it. This is the Holy Grail. Now, what's cool about these is, I did talk to Zotac because you guys know me. I like to customize everything. This build is going to be white. I did say that I would prefer a white card, but I wasn't going to be picky, and I'll tell you why. I didn't want to wait. I shouldn't say I didn't want to wait. I have no problem waiting. But they didn't know how long it was going to be, so, and they didn't have one, available now. And of course, when they ask me what card did I want, I always say, the bigger the better. I didn't expect them to send me a 4090. I didn't expect them to send me a 4080 Super. I love that they sent me a 4080 Super. This is fucking outstanding. It's amazing. With that being said, of course, on the back here we have our 3 DisplayPort outputs, and then our 1 HDMI output with the proper specifications that I noted earlier. We do have our plastic on here. We do not have plastic on our fan emblems here. These are not like stickers. They have a texture to them. Again, if you've owned a Zotac graphics card in the past, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some of them started with these fan emblems that it's more of like a button on the fan than it is a sticker. So they're really nice. They don't have a clear protective film that you'll take off. The fans don't either. The cool thing about these is I did a build with one of these in black. I talked to Zotac and I was like, hey, can I paint the shroud white? Because there's only 3 screws that hold on each fan, and then there's like 2 other screws that hold, and this whole shroud comes off real easy. This back piece comes off of it. This top lighting bar comes off of it. Real easy. You can take it apart and paint it. And you're actually not taking the cooler off the card. You're not touching the cooler itself, which is all under here. They told me that their current warranty policy says that if you alter the card, then it does void the warranty. I've had really good success with Zotac cards, so I'm not going to be worried about it. Of course, I tested the card before I did anything to it. But without having to paint the fans, which, I could understand if you put some paint on the fan blades, you could make them maybe offset the motors a little bit, make them a little heavier. I've done it in the past. It's not going to affect anything, but it could. I was able to take the fans apart, and there's a part number on the back side of them, and I was able to get replacement fans that will work with this card with the same plugs and everything else. So I matched those up. I got white fans that matched perfectly, so all I had to do was paint the shroud. So technically I didn't modify anything that was not Zotac. The other fans came with the Zotac emblems on the front of it and everything, which was fantastic. So with that being said, I don't have anything else to say. We have our beautiful black Zotac 4080 Super Amp Edition. Of course, our metal backplate on the back, which does produce heat. It's an active backplate. We have our Zotac logo, our Live to Game, of course, GeForce RTX. On the top, we have our Zotac gaming logo that lights up, and you can control this and tune this to match the coloring of your graphics card. It does not have like an RGB plug that plugs into the board, like to connect to your motherboard to ARGB sync. But you can do it within their software, and I believe most motherboard softwares that you would be using to control your other RGB do recognize this and do allow this to be changed. If not, you can install the Zotac software and you can change it to the same RGB or hexadecimal color code that you use for everything else and get it to synchronize. The GeForce RTX does not light up, which is another nice thing, because if you do paint this shroud, like I'm planning on painting mine, this goes away, but you could always put a sticker or something there because it's not something that lights up. With that being said, that's it for our unboxing. I want to give a huge shout out again to Zotac for sending this over for our next project. Make sure you stay tuned, because the project is going to be a fun one. We are doing this project that is going to coordinate with our current IRL project car build. You've seen some videos on our channel about that, and it's going to be really cool. The case that we're using is going to be totally, everything's going to be ripped out inside. It's going to be modified inside, and yeah, the whole motherboard tray is going to be sitting on a reservoir, water reservoir. That's all going to be custom. Of course, this initially will not be water cooled. We may water cool it down the line. We're going to have our CPU water cooled. Just a very clean and minimalistic build. And then we're going to have some gauges that are automotive gauges that are going to read things like our voltages and our water pressure and possibly water temperatures, things like that, to match with the whole theme. And then we're going to paint the case to match the car, to match the model car. Everything's going to be painted to match. And then we're going to be using our CNC machine to engrave on some of the aluminum that's on the top and the front of the case for our Thermaltake. I think it's a V700 or something like that. It's a really big case that they sent me for my next project, which I'm just getting around to now. I have an aluminum shroud that I made for the power supply. Bunch of different stuff. I have some Thermaltake products that they've sent me to use in this build too. Everything else we're putting together ourselves. We got an MSI motherboard, our Intel processor, of course, Kingston RAM, some really good components that we've assembled. Sabrent did send us over one of their 4 terabyte NVMe SSDs, so that's really cool for this project, and that'll come together more and more later on. But for now, this is it for our unboxing video. I got nothing more to say. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, make sure to like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. It's free and it helps us out. We're trying to get to that next plateau with our channel. We broke 10,000 and then just kind of boom, we've hit this plateau. So we're trying to break over that edge, do more videos, do different videos, offer you guys more things. We're doing some stuff on our Twitch. We're actually streaming live on YouTube with this at the same time. So you're going to see some of that in different areas. We're trying to offer you guys more content. So please subscribe. I appreciate it. It really helps us out. And that's it for now. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for tuning in. So, that's really going to be it, guys. I did everything I wanted to do. We got a 3-hour stream here, or more. Something like that. I'm good with that. And for now, I think that's going to wrap things up. Thanks for everybody that tuned in. Thanks for the follow, Donnie. And we'll catch you guys in the next stream. We're going to be back doing some more of this stuff anytime that I can. Don't have a set schedule right now, unfortunately, because I'm just kind of all over the place with what I want to do and how I want to do things. I'm also in the middle of big organizational changes, not just for my office and my workshop, but also for my business and things I'm focusing on and stuff like that. We are going to be doing some 3D designing streams. We're going to be doing some streams that focus on our 3D printers. We have our Elegoo over here. We have our big Apex Maker over here, which is a great resin printer, but it's a little finicky. I can't give rave reviews on it yet. We also have stuff like this. These are made with our laser. We have 2 lasers in here also. We have a full ventilation system. And these will be getting airbrushed, so we'll be doing some videos with painting and airbrushing and stuff like that. You'll see some of that on the YouTube channel. I haven't got a lot of that over here to the Twitch channel yet because I haven't done a lot of live stuff out in the garage, just kind of for lack of organization out there for right now. The pressure pot and things like that with our casting is great. So as we get a lot more of these processes in the works and stuff that we're going to be making and offering, we're going to be doing as much as we can to give you guys all of that here, along with, of course, as always, building computers. I set up right here on top of a computer case for one that I have to build coming up. We have 2 pre-builts that are available on our website right now, so go ahead and check those out. And I think that's going to be it for this one. I can't wait to get at this 4080 and get this installed. Should be a lot of fun. And for now, we're going to go and we're going to check out one really lit dude. So please stay with me as we go over to raid my dear friend, Roly Poly Potamus. Plays a lot of PUBG. He's a great guy, great personality. His stream is super enjoyable. And he's just fun to watch. Very energetic, great dude. Stay tuned, follow me over there.
Hey Whitley, welcome back. Rate your day on a scale of 10 of litness.